Welcome back to Rooster Teeth at E3, presented by Jason Bourne. I'm super excited. This is like, I've been waiting for this for so long now.
You welcomed us back. We've been gone in like 12 seconds.
You like being
welcome
welcomed,
back.
right? You are always welcome. But we are joined by a super special guest, and I'm not fangirling at all. It's Tim Schafer from Double Fine.
Hello.
Who's here to talk to us about Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin.
And socks.
And
socks. No, yeah. Again,
We're having a sock fight earlier.
Socks. We're sock shaming.
I've been thoroughly ankle shamed. Okay, I'll cover my ankles with something nicer next time. I promise.
And the game too.
And the game.
And the game.
Is there?
Why don't you cover your ankles with some sweet Psychonauts socks?
That's true. How are Raz's socks? Can't say his name. In Psychonauts.
Well, it's virtual reality, so you probably will be able to get really
I
up
look
close
down.
and personal and look at the socks. So we're gonna have to make really nice looking socks. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Thanks for reminding us about that. Can we scan those?
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
yeah.
If you want to put these in the game, and
Those
make
are
sure you
amazing.
get the leg hair. I feel like he's.
Oh, that's
old
your
enough
actual
now.
leg. I thought that was part of the sock.
Yeah, no, it all ties in.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really sorry about
Can only go
Ryan.
up from here.
You can't take me anywhere.
Much like those
really.
socks, it can only get better.
We're talking about burning them later. But we're here to talk about Psychonauts. So Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin is a VR game, and this is a follow-on from the original Psychonauts, one of my top all-time games
Yay.
of all time, ever, of all time. And leading into a Psychonauts 2, which, unless I'm wrong, now I've heard a lot about casting for this game. I've heard that you have one of the most amazing voices, really like a new rising talent for toilet number 4, 2?
Well, I mean, it's pretty well known when you have a toilet in your game, you got to go to James for your toilet work.
I mean,
right? Because there's only
He's
one
got
toilet.
the resume for it.
his
Yeah.
toilet humor is top notch.
That was exciting because we had a whole casting process. It was a really cutthroat competition, but no one it was really the gargling sounds that really took it over the top, and the emotion in there.
There was one right there.
No,
Yeah.
I'm no.
And
we're
in
good.
the,
choked up about it.
Yeah, we just showed him the game. He just got a good demo of it,
Really?
and I realized showing it there was a toilet in the demo, so probably a little sneak peek.
Did he notice himself? Did he go
He
over
did
and
it
bond
himself.
with it?
He's like, yeah, why didn't I get to do a voice for this demo?
All right, so tell us a little bit about in the Rhombus of Ruin.
Yeah, it takes place like seconds after Psychonauts ends. So at the end of Psychonauts, Raz saves the day. He's at summer camp. He's a psychic acrobat, and there's spoilers coming up. And at the very end of it, the grand head of the Psychonauts, Truman Zanotto, is kidnapped and happens to be his girlfriend's father. And they all jump into the jet and they take off in kind of a Back to the Future ending. And Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin is the story of that rescue mission. And it's all told in VR. And it's done using Raz's powers. It's not a platformer like Psychonauts is. It's more puzzle based and more using psi powers to solve puzzles, almost like an adventure game. And Raz has pyrokinesis and telekinesis and clairvoyance. And clairvoyance turns out to be a really great way for traveling around in VR. So instead of moving around, you can actually, I can jump into your brain and see the world from your perspective. And then if you see somebody over there, you can jump in his brain and jump around. So you can actually navigate a space using clairvoyance. So the psychic powers really just work well in VR because everything is kind of, you can pick up an object and hold it in front of your face and it really feels like you're controlling it with your mind and looking at it and setting it on fire, throwing it. It's just great.
Yeah, it seems like VR as a medium offers so many challenges that traditional gaming doesn't necessarily, but also opportunities, things like clairvoyance, like new ways to navigate and see the world. Is there any other stuff that we can expect with that?
Yeah, I mean, just first of all, just dropping you in the world, like you can see the Psychonauts characters. We've never seen them quite like this before. Where they're, and seeing them on the screen is one thing, but when you really put on the goggles and you feel that close to Mia, it's a very intimate. It's much more like the characters just come through and they pop. And we really wanted to do something that was, narrative based too. That wasn't just, kind of a stunt or, And so you're really in the jet. You're really hearing them talk and following their story. So the special things that VR also lets you do is feel that connection, like I was saying, with the psychic powers. Because I think it's just a natural way to contextualize jumping around and controlling things with your brain.
It's really great to see all the characters back after such a long gap.
Yeah, it was nice because we're doing a sequel. We're doing Psychonauts 2.
Right.
And we haven't visited these characters for 10 years. We hadn't called. Some of the actors have retired. And so we were like, well, this is a good opportunity to call them up and see if they'll come in. They're like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. So they came back, and we were like, I hope their voices sound good, and they sound great. And you can hear them all in here. We recorded them all. And getting to remodel the characters, we're using Unreal 4, and so it's like the old game had a lot of art style to it, but this new game, we get a chance to make them look beautiful and make everything look really luscious and sparkly and shiny.
Yeah, one of the really big elements of the first game, and one of the ones that had me going back to each of the levels over and over, was the pure number of collectibles in the game. There were so many, and some of them were very challenging. Between the emotional baggage, and of course all the figments and all that. There was so much to go see and collect. There was you really ended up exploring every nook and cranny of the game. Is there anything like that in the Rhombus of Ruin?
Well, I think VR, even though we have puzzles, and if you know the solutions, you can move through quickly, but VR is a space where it's like a little playroom. It's like this jet is one of the smaller environments in the game, but there's a lot of stuff you can pick up and just explore, and you can read all the magazines and burn all the pillows and set fire to the toilet paper. That's a spoiler, but it's some people just get lost in a space and just want to see what they can poke on and see what happens, and that's, I think, where you get that that really, like, you're teleported into a world space. It's not something to really rush through, but it's up to the player.
Have you seen anyone who's picked this up and tried out for the first time, doing some really crazy things you never thought they'd be doing with the tools they had in VR so far?
Every time we watch someone play it, we're like, oh, I hadn't thought that someone would try to do that. They're little funny things, like in the jet, you can poke on all the overhead compartments and stuff comes tumbling out. And some people just have this urge to clean up and they want to put stuff back in. We're like, oh, I guess we're gonna make sure that you can do that. Maybe we should get an achievement.
Well, the next player will come through here in a minute, and it'd be nice
yeah,
if this
would
was all
be nice
back up there. Yeah.
Should we give him a trophy for keeping the jet clean? That's you always learn a lot when you watch someone play it, because you can never think of everything that somebody thinks they're doing.
We're seeing actually some examples of the clairvoyance system as he's jumping character to character there. It must be kind of interesting that first time you do it and then look back at yourself and have that moment of, oh, that's my character that I'm
very
psychically
out-of-body experience.
Disembodied.
Yeah. He has dialogue about, he can also talk to the person he's in the brain of. They can have a little mental dialogue back and forth. And then he looks back and sees himself and realizes he doesn't look as cool as he thought he looked, so he has to get into a more psychic pose.
Have you ever thought of doing stuff like almost like characters appearing different depending on who's seeing them, like what their perspective is?
Yeah, we had
is there anything like that?
A long-running joke in Psychonauts was you can use clairvoyance to see yourself through someone else's eyes, and everyone saw you as something different. Some people saw you as a pest. Some people saw you as a hero or a savior or something to eat. So we mess around with that a lot. When Raz goes into the Psychonauts' brain, some of them are having trouble. They're under a kind of a spell. I don't want to spoil too much, but that affects how they see the world, and that gives you kind of a clue to what their problem is and how to fix it.
Speaking of that, though, what's the campaign like in this? Like how extensive is the campaign for this game?
This is it's one mission, but it's many different environments. Each of the Psychonauts is. They get separated and you find them all, and so there's different puzzle areas and different locations you go to for each one. So it's a real game. It's a real full-on game, not just a demo.
You heard it here first. This is a real game.
It's a real game.
I mean, a lot of stuff to do. Like there's a little let's do a quick VR demo and an experience based on our IP or something. But this is a real game with a story and puzzles all of its own.
Well, what was the learning curve?
I just heard Raz laugh. I'm so happy right now.
How do you feel like the learning curve on transitioning into a VR development was for taking this title into VR?
This is the first VR title you guys have done, right?
Yeah, we've done some experiments and tests and stuff, but the team working on this is, they're on the front lines of learning all this stuff along with all the other people making VR games now. And we learned the secret is, of course, toilet paper. Get the toilet paper in there quick. Oh, you can see James's character in there. There's underneath the coach was the... That's actually not toilet number 4. That won't be.
Oh, I'm
James's
sorry.
part. Yeah.
Toilet number 3.
Sorry, James. You didn't make the E3
totally
cut.
Different toilet.
Yeah. Totally different toilet.
So but yeah, for VR, it's such a different world than trying to do it from a 2D or a top-down. Did you have any challenges that you really had to overcome to translate it into VR?
I'm warning you, Ryan is our super VR nerd. VR. He loves VR.
We Well, I mean, we wanted to think about a different way of navigating because I'm someone who if there's any sort of chance of getting sick in a VR game, that will be me. So that's why we get around not by pushing or running through an environment, but by using clairvoyance. So, but that was a solution to that. That provided a nice solution to that. I think, the fidelity is something you have to watch out because you get a lot closer. It feels like you get a lot closer to things, and the characters. Their faces, have to look really, really nice. Just little things like that, and the stuff that you're used to taking for granted, like just that a character can walk through an environment, and wait, well maybe they can, maybe they can't, But you can do a lot more. It's just a lot more exciting to just be in this world.
Experience it first person.
Now, is this single player campaign only? Or are you looking at any kind of like co-op and or multiplayer?
This one is just a solo experience going through this.
It seems like this would be a challenging game to do in multiplayer in any case.
And the first game wasn't
multiplayer,
so it was massively single player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say massively single player.
And there's Truman Zanotto, who you're
Look
trying
at
to
all
rescue.
the
And there's Figments. Remember the Figments?
Oh, I remember the Figments. When you miss like one Figment in a level, and you're not sure like where it is, you have to go back and comb every little detail, and you only see it from like a certain perspective. That was diabolical. But that said, I did spend a lot of time in those worlds. In fact, the worlds of the original Psychonauts, the different mines were one of the most captivating things about it. The fact that you have the theater, you have the running of the bulls, you have Napoleon's level. I'm terrible with level names, but I remember all the levels.
You can go anywhere in
my
that game because you're going into the human mind, and so anything you can imagine in your brain, you could do in Psychonauts. So that's why one of the reasons we're doing a sequel is that there's just so many more places to go. And you can go to any place, any time period, any weird mix-up of time periods. You could just do if someone could think of it. So you can go into that world.
Yeah.
So the Psychonauts 2 will follow obviously after this VR experience. How much will anything in the VR experience tie in directly? Can you influence Psychonauts 2?
The great thing about doing the games at the same time is that we can kind of put seeds. Even in that opening demo, there were seeds for the plot of Psychonauts 2 hidden in there. And they'll make sense if you haven't played. If you haven't played any of them, you can play any of them and enjoy them. But it is kind of setting the seeds for diabolical plots that you'll uncover. I'm just seeing myself now for the first time. Oh.
Is there a diabolical plot at foot right now?
Yeah.
Did
you realize there's cameras on this, you guys?
You're coming for my socks, aren't you?
Yes.
That is a diabolical sock.
Are there any superpowers that can help us get rid of these socks?
No
we
pyrokinesis.
We could burn them. A little hot foot. I was told to wear nice socks.
I'm just going to check in and see. You guys can tweet along with us, of course, at hashtag RTE3. We're also monitoring the chat. If you guys have any burning questions about In the Rhombus of Ruin that we can ask Tim.
Burning questions.
Everyone is as excited as I am, I hope, for this game. Let me see. Can you set fire to James Willem's role?
Oh.
Wait, are you asking if you
question.
can like set a toilet on fire?
No, but you might light a match after using them.
There you go. Nice.
Hoi.
Do we have like the psychic equivalent of the brown note we can hit somebody with and just send them on?
you joke, but that's come up in brainstorming so many times. Yeah, like a psychic note that would cause a lot of involuntary functions. And it's just another thing to explore. Never say never.
Fair enough.
That's what's written on the side of the brown note gun. Never say never.
Never say never, but maybe not this one. Maybe save it for another one. Do you feel like after this experience in VR, you might return to it at some point in the future?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little early to say, but I really having a lot of fun in doing it, and it's changed. It's probably by the time we finish this game, soon after a VR game will be a whole different thing. That's why it's exciting to be in it, because just like being in the games industry in general, it's like it's not set. What is a game, like what is a VR game is different every year, and so it's going to be exciting to see what it becomes, and I'm sure it'll be something new we want to try again.
Yeah, it's it's a very cool time to be in VR, I feel, because this is when, it's not defined. You can do whatever you want with it, and that experimentation is really part of the fun.
Yeah.
So you get to do like really crazy stuff, and the first time you get into that VR world, it's unlike anything else. Like, I cannot wait to get into this. And like you said, like, actually see the characters right there, like you're in that world with them. It's absolutely amazing.
That's all? Yeah, I feel that way, too. Are you going to play it here? Did you get a chance to play?
Yeah.
It's over at the...
we haven't got a chance to play here yet. I would love to.
We'd love to.
Yeah.
And those,
You
is that,
pull
is that
some
on the
strings with
cards?
it?
Yeah, I know a guy.
Actually, when I first heard that Psychonauts was going to have a VR component, I was really excited about it because the game always dealt with such interesting mental landscapes. It's almost like you could take someone. Well, I mean, that game really gives you, as you said, the gateway. You could take someone anywhere, but also could be potentially terrifying, the best way possible.
Well, like your worst nightmares.
Exactly. I mean,
It's all about dreams and
Yeah.
and also emotional. Like it can get really heavy without getting heavy. Like you can see the narrative storytelling through environments is always really interesting. But this game, since you're in someone's brain, the landscape is literally their thoughts and emotions. So you can talk about. You don't have to spell it out what somebody's emotional state is. You can just show it. Like whoa, like I'm in their worst nightmare. I'm learning a lot about this person.
Did you ever feel like you had to dial it back a little bit? Like you came up with an idea and it was like, whoa, that's
Like
too
too
scary.
intense?
We stuck a lot in the first game. There's some hidden places where you can. I don't know if you found the burning orphanage or anything. There's some dark places in the first game because I think that's interesting. I also like. I mean, obviously, comedy in games I think is important, but I think they kind of go well together.
No, it's a great way, really. There was like it's like there are dark elements to the first game, but they're explored in a comedic way, which I really like. I mean, it makes sense that
We
you're
burned an
talking about
orphanage
minds.
comedically.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, and moving right along. Can you enjoy Psychonauts like this in Rhombus of Ruin without the first one? Is there anything to catch you up for those who missed it because it was several years ago and there's a whole new generation now?
Yeah, it's not when you're writing it. We try to write it so that I'm going to assume no one knows at all what's going on. Even this little demo started with Raz kind of explaining who he is and what he's doing. But we know there's a lot of gamers out there who have not played the first game or it was hard to find for a while, and they can still play it. It's just we're able to re-release it on the PS4, and so you can go and catch up. But even if you haven't, we're writing the game to make sense because we want new people to just jump in and not feel like they have to go all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll just play the new one and they'll be like, that was so great. I am going to go back and play that.
You can go back, and the first one is also on Steam.
Yep.
Totally controller friendly. Works great. I go back and play it pretty frequently. So we have a great question from Twitter. This is from @Max_McGovern. What other alternative quadrilateral titles? I almost Ryaned. I just Ryaned. Oh my god.
That was harder than I think I've ever
I think
Ryaned
that's my
before.
first Ryan of the day.
Quadrilateral.
What other
Equilateral
alliterative
quadrilateral.
quadrilateral titles did you come up with before Rhombus of Ruin?
Well, we're trying to think of there's a place that you go in the game that's a mysterious and powerful spot in the ocean where a lot of planes have disappeared, like the Bermuda Triangle. But we're trying to think of what is the funniest shape. And if you think about shapes, I mean, dodecahedron's kind of funny, but I feel like rhombus is one of the funnier shapes.
It's pithy. It's got a nice tight.
Yeah, and it's dangerous. It's like two Bermuda Triangles back to back.
You gotta watch out. That's like double the Bermuda Triangle.
Exactly. Yeah, mathematically proven to be doubly. But Ron, think of a funnier shape. Triangle. It's not that funny.
Square of sorcery.
Square
No,
is
it
not
doesn't have
funny.
it.
No, okay.
Square is the opposite of funny.
And the octagon's too MMA.
Pentagram is downright satanic.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's either rhombus or dodecahedron.
It's really
The
So-
dodecahedron of doom.
That's too much.
Yeah,
That's a mouthful.
So we got something for our next VR title already. Doomdecahedron.
How's it been jumping back into the franchise after these years away?
We had our FIG campaign, our crowdfunding campaign for the Psychonauts 2 happened, and it closed. It was successful, and it was great. And the next day, I was down here in LA recording voice with Richard Horvitz, the voice of Raz, and I was talking to him about, okay, Sasha thinks this and Mia thinks this, and I was like, wow, I'm really just right back into it. But it feels like, that old friend that you haven't seen in a long time, but you just start talking, and it's like you just saw them yesterday. And it's one of my happy places. Psychonauts is one of my happy places because it's like I just love those characters and
Those burning orphanages.
As far as burning orphanages is one of the happiest places.
It's really a highlight.
I mean, does this kind of follow on? With the way you ended Psychonauts 1. Clearly, you probably at least had some thought of what Psychonauts 2 would be. Then, does this follow pretty closely to what your original concepts were?
I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of been live in my head for the last 10 years still. And we planted some seeds in the first game for where I wanted the story to go. And I kept it open like a Google Doc for years of like, you meet an interesting person and you're like, what's it look like inside their head? And then you're like, I bet that person would have a lot. And so I've been keeping notes on it for years. So it's nice to be able to hit the ground running with all those ideas.
I'm just checking in on Twitter. Are there going to be any new abilities you can learn in the new Psychonauts into or the VR game? This is courtesy of at Daco of Tacos.
Daco of Tacos.
Taco of tacos.
It's not alliterative, but it's poetic.
Yeah. In Psychonauts 2, there's definitely going to be a mix of the old powers that you've seen, maybe enhanced, and some new powers. And in the VR, in the Rhombus of Ruin, it's going to be some of the powers that people know, but they behave a little differently. Like the way that in the first game, you couldn't chain clairvoyance to go from brain to brain to brain to brain. And that's one of our main mechanics, is that it's now powerful enough that you can clairvoyance after clairvoyance after clairvoyance.
Yeah.
And it feels different to Psyblast. You know, the Psyblast comes right out of your head in this game. So it's like this powerful so it feels like a totally different power.
Is there a lot of stuff that the advances in technology have made possible that you might have like imagined and really wanted to do with the first Psychonauts title that are now possible? Like, you know, with the VR, like you say, with the perspectives, and you change the way some of the powers work. Is there any other stuff like that we can look forward to?
Well, yeah, I mean, we started the first game in 2000, so we were lucky to get, you know, we barely knew how to get polygons on the screen. So, you know, we wanted to have Raz have all these parts, you know, like a lot of secondary motion and physics-based stuff. And there's a ton of them, obviously, using the new Unreal 4 engine. It's going to look amazing. It's going to be shiny and pretty, and the fidelity is going to be crazy, which is important in VR because you can look inside someone's mouth on accident all the time. You can get the
Sure,
I mean,
lean right in.
As
yeah.
you do.
As you do. Don't you? Yeah. Don't lean too close. How's the fidelity of those
Socks?
teeth?
It's great. I mean, it could be
It's
HD
like I'm really here.
It needs more frames.
Well, you know, 60 is about as good as I can do on any given day.
A lot of lag in there.
Someday I hit the 30s.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining
Yeah,
us.
thanks
I'm
for having
really
me.
excited for this title. When can we expect to play this game?
We're not saying exactly sure, but this year for sure.
This
Rhombus
year.
of Ruin. Yeah.
That's good enough for me.
As soon
I'm
as
so
we can
happy.
do it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna high five toilet number 4 and be like, "You did so
You
good,
should really
toilet."
wash your hands before you do that and after you do
Before
that.
and
I'm gonna go
after.
high five a toilet.
Yeah.
Well,
Are you
as
just calling him toilet now? That's good. Okay.
well, I
Well,
mean,
that's his new nickname around
yeah.
the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Toilet,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
you got to call people what they're known for.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, like socks here.
Like socks. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
That's my life now. Yep. Thanks for being here.
All right, we're gonna have a couple of more games coming up, but first, let's check in with Joel and Adam. Again, thank you, Tim, so much for
Great
joining
to
us.
be here.
Can't wait to play the game.
Also. Yeah.
I'm gonna go play it right now.
You're going to hook us up, right?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
look at
Come
that.
with me.
Sweet.